Why do we need mitosis? Can we not live without mitosis? Why exactly is mitosis so highlighted in biological study? First of all, we'll start off with a formal definition to mitosis. Now, mitosis, spelled like this, some people call it mitosis, that's also fine. I'm too used to calling it mitosis, so I can't go back to mitosis. I think I called it mitosis when I first started learning this, but it's mitosis and meiosis now. Mitosis is the process by which, let's take the definition slowly, the process by which two genetically identical daughter nuclei. Pay very close attention to this. You can think of two genetically identical daughter nuclei as being two genetically identical daughter cells. Okay? Two genetically identical daughter nuclei are produced that are genetically identical to the parent cell. Now, that definition might look like a mess. Let me clarify. Okay, if I have a cell, let's call this a cell. Each cell is going to have a nucleus inside of it. Now, if I color this nucleus in a pink to help us distinguish, when this cell undergoes cellular division by mitosis, two identical cells will be produced. What do I mean by two identical cells? These two cells will be identical to each other. Which two genetically identical daughter nuclei? The nuclei of these two cells, hence, the two cells will be genetically identical. In other terms, they will have the same chromosomes in the nuclei. Okay, and then the second part of the definition. This part is fine. Now we have two genetically identical daughter nuclei. Those nuclei are also identical to the parent cell. That's the definition. That's the idea behind mitosis. They are identical to each other and they are also identical to the parent cell. And you only need one parent to carry out mitosis. Right. Let's discuss about the key uses of mitosis. Why exactly we need mitosis in a biological function? We have three main uses for mitosis. Now, when it comes to examination questions, this can be a small essay question. When it comes to the essay aspect, actually, I think you can go up to 3 to 4 marks sometimes when it comes to a question. So the question will outline something like describe or explain or outline the key uses of mitosis. Whenever that shows up, you only have to remember three things. I'll give them in a list-wise order, A, B, C. The first one is mitosis is a very required process for growth. Then you need mitosis for the repair of tissues and to replace cells. Repairing tissues and replacing cells. And finally, this is more of a plant-based perspective. Mitosis is the precursor to asexual reproduction. Like so. Let's elaborate on each of these with a little bit more detail. Let's start off with growth. I will type this out. To grow by replicating the body cells, resulting in an increased mass of cells. If when we defined growth back in IGCSEs, we clearly remembered how growth was simply the increase. It was a permanent increase in size and dry mass. The best way this was achieved was pre-existing cells divided. So if you started off with 3 cells, 3 became 6, and then these 6 cells then multiplied on their own again. Now we have a total of 12 cells, and then those cells are going to replicate themselves like so. Now we have double the amount, and then those numbers of cells are going to divide again on their own, and therefore we're going to be increasing the number of cells, hence increasing the mass of the organism, therefore allowing for biological growth. So how does mitosis play a role in this? One cell has to divide by mitosis. One single cell has to divide to begin this process, and all the following colonies, all the following generations are built out of mitosis. That's why the growth factor is very important. Okay, let's look at the repair of tissues and replacement of cells. In our body, our body is almost like a machine, so things do wear out. We have wear and tear when it comes to our body as well. Now, cells that are constantly dying need to be replaced. They have to be replaced. Now, humans replace skin cells and cells of the gut, the intestines on a daily basis. Now, the skin part you might already know. Humans are constantly shedding our skin. Okay, that's why if you have something like scars, maybe acne scars, they usually fade within a small amount of time. And that's because the skin is being replaced as we speak, actually. The epidermis, dermis, they play a major role in the proliferation of cells and hence new growth. What you might not have known is that your gut cells, your intestine, they also do the exact same thing, where the intestinal epithelium is replaced on a daily basis. Now let's look at the plant notion, that is asexual reproduction. This refers to the production of new offspring with a single parent. Sometimes you need 2 parents to carry out reproduction. That is sexual reproduction. For asexual reproduction, only 1 parent is enough, with a single parent. Now, for unicellular organisms, for example, a very good example is amoebas. You can just give a small Google search on what an amoeba is. Cell division results in an identical offspring. For multicellular organisms that undergo reproduction asexual, buds grow and detach to grow into their organisms. What does that look like? Now, if I talk about a multicellular organism, a very famous potato, from this potato, small buds will arise. With time, these buds will detach from the mother like this, and then they will continue to grow into organisms on their own. This is a common scenario known as, now potatoes do produce buds as well, but this is a very common scenario in this organism, budding in yeast. So those are the 3 major functions of mitosis under a biological basis.